Hello and welcome back to my channel, Craft Time by Casey. I am Casey, and today this is the necklace that we will be making. And most of the parts of this necklace came from the March 2022 bargain bead box, and I am super happy with how it came out. I really enjoy this pendant, the focal pendant that came in the box, and I really didn't do much to the pendant at all other than the little embellishment components that I have dangled across the front of it. I think the design in that pendant kind of speaks for itself. It's absolutely beautiful. I love it. It's very unique. So if you would like to see how this necklace came about, then stay tuned. All right, so here we go. We're gonna get right into it. I'm gonna quickly go through the tools that I will be using and we will start putting this thing together. I have an idea in my head of what I'm going for. And so part of this, you might be seeing me in the planning stage, which my brain can be kind of hectic, but we'll just run with it and see how it goes. So here are the tools. I'm going to be using 2 sets of chain nose pliers so I can manipulate things with both hands. I'm going to be using a set of my fine point cutters. I will also be using round nose pliers to make loops. And I will be using crimping pliers for the crimp tubes there at the end of the wiring. I will be using 49 strand Bead-A-Lon beading wire in the color Bright, which is the silver color, and that is different than the antique bronze of most of the finishes. But with the wire guard ends and the beads and everything, you won't even be able to see the wire. All right, so we're gonna jump into it. The focal part of this necklace is going to be this pendant. This beautiful pendant that came in there, that came in the March 2022 bead box. It has that floral background engraved into it, and I'm going to be leaving this pendant as is. I'm just going to kind of give it a little bead flourish kind of hanging in the front of it. So the first thing we're going to make are the embellishments to the front of the pendant, and for this I'm going to use the one of my head pins with the ball on the end. Like I said, most of the pieces are from the March 2022 bead box. Most of the beads, the visual components, the connector, the chain, most everything is from it except for the findings. The findings and the pins and a few of the spacer beads came from my own personal stash. So the first component that I'm going to make for this pendant is going to have a spacer bead, a bicone, one of the bird charms, the bird pendants rather. All right, so there is the order for this head pin. And to make my loops, I go right at the end, just like that, and I bend it back with my fingers, just like that. And then I get up in there with my cutters. You definitely want to hold on to that pin with your fingers or it will go flying. And then I'm just going to roll it around with my round nose pliers to close that loop. And there is my first component. And I'm going to make my second component, also need the head pin, and I'm going to be using a spacer, and I'm going to have a bead cap going up, rondelle, bead cap going down, and a spacer. So here is that second component. And I make all of my loops pretty much in the same way. So I'm going to take it right there at the top, just like that, bend it back with my fingers, like that. And get in there with my cutters. Hold the end with my fingers so it doesn't go flying. And then I get in there with my round nose pliers and I close that loop. Just like that. So there's my second component. And the way it's going to be hanging on there, I have my large 8mm jump ring, and I'm going to have both of these components hanging on the large jump ring. I'm going to close that jump ring. And just to kind of show you now, when this has the necklace components on it, this will be hanging around the necklace, just like that, and the necklace components will be hanging off of it, which I think that looks nice. It adds just a little flair to it, a little color for that antique bronze. So for right now, I'm going to set this to the side, and I'm going to be working on the wiring components. All right, so I cut just about a 10-inch strand, a little over 10-inch strand of my bead-along wire, and I will show you how I close the end of it. All right, so I'm going to take that crimp tube, put it right there on the end, put on a jump ring, and I'm going to grab a wire guardian. Put the wire guardian on the end, wrap it back around. Make sure that jump ring is up there in the wire guardian, and then both ends of the wire go through that crimp tube, just like that. You want to make sure your wire is not twisted. I'm going to pull that wire so it gets a little bit more snug. And I'm going to take my chain nose pliers with a very gentle hand and close that wire guardian just a little bit. And now I'm going to take my crimping pliers and go into that second divot in the crimping pliers. All right, and when you smash it, it gives you that taco shape. Turn it to the side. Put it in that first divot. And then I like to go to that flat part at the end and give it that last good smash. I'm gonna take my crimp cover, place it right over the top of my crimp tube, turn it around, take my chain nose pliers, give it a good smash, and then it's just a matter of the beading order. So the first one that I'm gonna make is the shorter of the two. So that would be bicone, spacer, bead cap facing up, and for this side I'm going to use these larger round ice blue beads. Have almost a crackle effect in there, and then bead cap facing down, and then a spacer. So down here, you want to make sure that the tail of the wire goes through your beads. So go through that spacer, bead cap. There you go. So there's what it's looking like right now. I'm going to do another bicone spacer. Now I'm going to use one of these bird charms. Spacer. Bicone. Spacer. And now I'm going to show you so here is the pattern, and then we're going to repeat this pattern 1.5 more times. So I will show you this final beading string once I get to the end and show you the full pattern. All right, so here is the final pattern. And as you can see, we did that same pattern at the bottom 2 more times. The second time we just did it a half time, we just didn't have that bird charm section at the end. We end with that bicone. Here is the entire part of the shorter strand in the necklace. So I'm going to show you how we close it. Put on the crimp tube. Jump ring. Wire guardian. And bring this around through the other side of the wire guardian and make sure the jump ring goes in the wire guardian and both ends of the wire go through the crimp tube. So now you can just take the wire and pull it. I'm going to put the tail through the last couple beads. All right, so holding on to that tail, I'm gonna get my chain nose pliers and very gently close that wire guardian a little bit. Okay, so now hold on to that jump ring, pull the tail kind of snug. All right, so I'm gonna get my crimping pliers, not my cutters. I'm gonna get my crimping pliers, go into that second divot, give it a good smash. The taco, go into the first divot, smash, flat part on the end, final smash. Crimp cover, place it right on top of that crimp tube, and we're gonna flip it to the other side, just like that. I'm gonna take my chain nose pliers, get in there and smash it. Then I'm gonna take my fine point cutters, get in there as close as I can, cut that off. Then all you have to do, well, I have long nails, but you can kind of take your nail and just push that in to the next bead. Like that, and it is hidden, just like that. So there is the shorter of the two strands. So now we'll create the longer strand. All right, so we've got the beginning of this chain on here. Now let's go for the order. We're going to have this smaller blue faceted bead and spacer. Bicone, spacer. Natural stone, spacer. Go down to the other end and make sure that tail goes in the beads on the bottom. Just like that. And then that is going to be our pattern for this strand. We're going to repeat this 4 times roughly. To get to the other end, I'll meet you at the other side. And here is the other strand. As you can see, it is quite a bit longer than the first one, as it should be. You definitely want it that way so when it hangs on the bracelet, so that when it hangs on the necklace, that it's going to hang properly. All right, so now we have our 2 components for the bottom part of the necklace that's going to be connecting to this pendant. So we're going to make the components for the top of the connector. The connector is going to be on its side like this, and it's going to have the chain connecting it up at the top. So we're going to take one of our head pins like this. This is of course this is an eye pin, right, like this. And the bottom component is going to look like this. I'm going to have a spacer, bead cap facing up, one of the ice blue rounds, bead cap facing down, spacer. All right, there we go. Just like that. Now, when I make the loop on top of an eye pin, I want to try to get the loops facing the same direction. So we're going to bend it back with the fingers, cut it at the top, close the loop, just like that. So here's the first component. Take the other eye pin. We're going to have a spacer, bicone, spacer, large rondelle, spacer. So here's the second one. Bend back with my fingers, cut up in the loop, and then get in there and close the loop. And there is my second component. So now we are just going to connect everything that's going to be on this side. So we're going to connect our 5 links of chain to each side of this middle connector piece. 4mm jump ring. And put on the connector. And then the last link in this chain. Do the same thing for the other side. All right, so now you've got the connector with pieces of chain kind of hanging off of it. So we're going to put our 2 connector pieces, our 2 components, we're going to connect them with a 6mm jump ring. Connect. Just like that. And now we're going to connect this component to the top of these 2 pieces of chain. So the way this is going to work, we've got a 6mm jump ring right here. And we're going to connect the last link in one side of the chain. We're going to connect this component. And then the last link in the other side of the chain. Just like that. And then close the jump ring. And there you have it. So I'm going to connect the shorter side to the inside loop, just like this. Close that jump ring. And now we're going to take the longer side and connect it to the other side. All right, so here is one of the components of the necklace, and what you need to do at this point is to make another one just like this. You need 2 of these because you're going to have it one going one way and you're going to have the other one going the other way, connecting at the pendant like this. Okay, so I'll meet back when we have the other component. All right, so now we are going to connect everything. So the first thing we're going to do, down at the bottom, we're going to make sure that this large jump ring that's holding our components on here, make sure that it is at the bottom when you start connecting these jump rings from the strands. So we'll start with this side. All right. So we'll open this jump ring and connect it. So we have this jump ring, we're going to connect it to our pendant and then close that jump ring. All right, so now this, now our embellishments, our components that are on here are at least locked in place. They're not going to fall off at this point. So now we're going to add the inner strand. And then close that jump ring. We have this side that is finished, and now we're going to add our other side. Jump ring. Make sure nothing is twisted or angled funny. Switch hands, and now connect it to the pendant. And then close the jump ring. So we have two. Everything always feels like it's kind of hanging while you're connecting it. So make sure nothing's twisted. So now we're going to get this middle piece. And then you're going to close that jump ring. All right. So at this point, we've got the bottom part of the necklace. Now we need to get the back part of the necklace. So we have 2 lengths of chain, and each one of these lengths is 20 links. Fun words to use together. So we'll do one at a time. And I'm going to get a jump ring. And connect it to the bottom length of the chain. And connect it to the last component in that part of the chain, in the strand. All right, there we go. And this is the side that's going to have our lobster clasp. So add it to the last link, and then the lobster clasp right there. Close that jump ring. So there's that side. Now we're going to do the other side. Jump ring, last link in the chain, top component, close that jump ring, and then on this one we're going to use the largest jump ring that we have here. This is going to be the connector piece for the lobster clasp. So we're going to connect it to the last link in the chain and close it just like that. And now we can connect it to our lobster clasp. There we go. So there's our finished piece, and I will set it up on my display so that it'll be easier to see. All right, so here is the finished piece. I am super happy with how this came out. I absolutely love it. Let's zoom on in on some of these parts. I love that pendant with the bird cutout, the little embellishments on the top. really tie into the links in the chain. Into the embellishments at the top. I love how it all came together. So thank you very much for watching. If you like this video and you want to see other videos like this, go ahead and hit that subscribe button down below and give me a like and leave a comment. Tell me what you think. What do you think of this necklace? Does it inspire you to make one of your own? Or something like it maybe. I absolutely love reading your comments. You guys are so kind. So let me know what you think and what your thoughts are. I greatly appreciate each and every one of you, and I definitely look forward to seeing you in the next one. Bye.